Hey everybody, welcome back. Today we're going to talk about liquid lime. Now, we're running late on our grains plantings. We're right in the wheelhouse for our fall forage here in Upper Michigan, northern Wisconsin. Uh, Friday we got to go up and work up our ground, till under our summer soil builder. And Saturday we went up and planted our fall forage with radishes, red clover, and we added some crimson clover. One spot we actually dropped maybe a third of a pound of the short season brassica, just trying to see how that does in and amongst this fall forage. Very thin, very few seeds, but we just wanted to see how it would do. Anyway, and then today, Sunday, we went up right before the rains came and sprayed our liquid lime. We added some AP and starter fertilizer to it, mostly starter. And then we also added a new product we're testing. We're really hoping to have some great results. We'd be excited to talk about that next spring, but we're doing a lot of trials right now. It's a nutrient boost, and we're excited to see the results of that. We're doing a lot of side-by-side where we added it and then we didn't add it. We just went full spectrum products on the whole plot, and then we did some of this new product that we're testing. I'm not sure if we're going to sell it or not. We're just doing a lot of testing right now. But anyway, we did that. And what we wanted to do with this video is walk you through the steps we take when we're spraying our liquid lime. Actually, all our liquid fertilizers. Our spray rig, our ATV. Going to warn you, it's nothing fancy, folks. It's a 20-year-old four-wheeler. And then our spray rig has been, it started out as a trailer, and then we kind of morphed it into something that actually bolts on the back of our four-wheeler. But we're going to show you our spray rig, what we use for nozzles, how we prep it, how we prep the lime, the mixing of the lime, and then cleaning the whole spray rig when we're done. So if you want to know how to do this correctly, in our opinion, this is the best way to spray our full spectrum products 3-cal liquid. All right, so let's talk about our rig quick. Yes, it's old, doesn't look pretty, but you know what, it works. I'm to the point in life, I don't care what it looks like. I just want it to work. This boom is off, I think we bought the Fimco back in, I don't know, 15 years ago, and it was on a trailer. And I quickly realized those don't work very well because they're this far off the ground. You couldn't turn around. So if you were trying to spray like some goldenrod or something, you know, that it's this tall, that boom was right on the ground. I did not like it. So I took the tank off the trailer, I took the boom off the trailer, I welded 4 nuts on the rack of the four-wheeler, and I just bolt this boom in. Again, we've backed into things and bumped things, hit a tree or two, and it's bent, but you know what? It works, and I know exactly, for using this so long, I know exactly how much I have to spray. I know exactly, you know, how wide it's going to be. The only thing I will say with this boom is I do need to make it wider because these are 140-degree nozzles and there's an overlap right down the center. So I do have to make the boom wider. The tank, this is the third tank I've gone through just because, you know, they get beat up, and that's why I've got these boards on here so it's not sitting on the rack. The ratchet straps, again, it doesn't look pretty, but it works. The only thing is it's very top heavy, so we have to back onto a trailer because I don't need to ride on the back 2 wheels going up the trailer. But you know, like I said before, I just want it to work. You know, and I've used this setup, boom setup, for 15 years now. I know exactly how much water, what nozzles to use, whether we're spraying pesticides or herbicides, or if we're doing the liquids today. I'll go through that next, what nozzles we're using and why. But again, this is our rig. Actually, the four-wheeler, I believe, is a 1999, and honestly, I just had they'd gone completely through. And we're going to do a video on implements someday. I've got some ideas I want to talk about, but I've got a lot of older equipment, but it's well maintained. We just had the engine rebuilt, the transmission gone through, the clutch, and it might have cost, I don't know, maybe a couple $1,000. But I've got a brand new ATV. I was pricing one to replace this, and it was over 10 grand, and I'm not spending that kind of money. I don't ride at all. All I do is plow snow with this, and we do food plots. And I'm not sponsored by anybody on this channel. I like the Hondas. I think they're very reliable. Like I said, this thing's a 1999, and it's a little tractor. I had some stuff behind this yesterday where it was grunting. And I'm not a fan when it comes to food plotting because I've used them. I'm not a fan of using anything belt driven when you put heavy implements behind this. Like I had a 4-foot grain drill with a roller behind that. There was a lot of weight there. And when I tried to run that rig behind a belt driven ATV, it wouldn't work. It was smoking the clutch. I don't know, maybe it was just that particular ATV. But you know, I really don't want to turn this into an ATV video, but I really like the Hondas, like anything that's shaft driven. And again, it doesn't matter if you've got a 1985 four-wheeler or a 2025 or 24 four-wheeler, as long as it works for you. Honestly, my favorite food plotting ATV, those Big Reds, I think they're called, the 200, the 250 three-wheelers, back in the day, they don't make them anymore. Those things are food plotting machines. If you could get yourself, if you got a farm with an ATV, I would try to find one of those old Honda ATV Big Reds, I think they're called, because they turn so well. Like this one, a lot of the times the turning radius on this one is it's so wide. You got to back up when you're in those tight food plots. I would really look at an ATV, a three-wheeler if you can. So anyway, enough of the ATVs. Let's talk about the nozzles and what we're doing here today, spraying liquid lime. Okay, I've got 3 different nozzles in my hand. I have 2 packages, but one package has 2 different ones in it. So one of the things you have to understand when you're doing these liquids is you have to pull this filter out. Okay, we want it unimpeded to that nozzle. This filter has to come out. Now there's still a filter on the pickup tube. Okay, there's still a filter on the pickup tube, but you want this one pulled out. Now this originally came with a red tip. This is what came with it. I got this again from Tractor Supply about 15 years ago, this boom. And it's a very small hole. I don't know what the number is. But when we started spraying, we ended up switching to these blue ones. It's got a little bit bigger hole in it. Now, if you look at the chart that comes with it, it talks about how many gallons per minute at 10 psi and gallons per acre on your spacing, and all the information is here. So we're going to try to run at 10 psi today because we're running 2 nozzles. This is a chart for 1 nozzle. But when we were in TSC last year, we found an even bigger one. This says FT 7.5 on it. Let's get this open here. And it's a green nozzle. Okay, and it's got the biggest, I don't even know if you can see that, I'm not sure. But it's got a really large hole in it. And you go on the back, flood spray nozzle, PSI 10, 3/4 of a gallon per minute. And it goes at 5 miles an hour, how many gallons an acre. So that's what we're going to be working with. We're going to probably spray around 10 to 15 psi because what you're doing to get the psi up, you're actually reducing the amount of water coming out. But again, not everybody's got a TSC around them. We happen to have one about 6 miles away right into Wisconsin in Marinette. And the thing I like about them is they're here. Now if we had a farm and fleet store or some other store here and they sold something else, more than likely I would be using it there because of the convenience. If I break something, I can go right to TSC and buy it. But if I've got some other store that's selling a little bit different, okay, I would be going there and buying it. It's convenient. I don't have to break, if I break something, that's why I always have spares. I've got spares for everything because God knows you're going to break something. I even got a spare pump. But I like the convenience, and it's not that I'm a TSC person. I'm not sponsored by them or anything like that. They just happen to be 5 miles away. It's a 10-minute drive through the cities to get to TSC. So if I need something, it's available. If you've got a shop near you, a store near you, that convenience, it might be a little more, it might be a little less, but that convenience of having a shop nearby, if you break down, that's very convenient. So the last thing we'll talk about is the pump on here. I think, like I said, I think this is our 3rd tank we're on. This pump is our 4th pump. This is a 2.4 gallon per minute, 60 psi pump. I know a lot of guys are going to I think it's a 4.6, the next size up. I don't have any problems with this. I don't have any problems with clogging. Again, if you prep ahead of time with your mixtures, your slurries, I've not had a plugging problem. We'll actually even add fertilizer, nitrogen, and all that to this, and we've not had a clogging problem. So hopefully that clears things up. I know we're going to do another video with Brad. I know him and Randy Vanderveen did a video a couple years ago about mixing the slurry. If you want to go, I think it's Strategic Habitat is Randy's channel. They've got a video where they're actually mixing that. But again, it doesn't look pretty, but you know what, folks? It gets the job done. All right, so we're getting ready to add the lime to our water, and then we're going to make a slurry and dump it into the tank. The tank is filling up right now. I want to get about 15 to 18 gallons of water in there. So what I have is 2.5 gallons of water in this bucket. We're going to shake up our 3-cal product really well by hand. We're going to dump half of it in here. I've got a paint mixer from Menards or maybe TSC. It's on an electric drill. We're going to stir that all up. We're going to put it in here. We're going to do this, repeat that process, and then we're going to fill the tank the rest of the way. This is a 45-gallon tank. I'm going to put about 40. I have to drive, I think, 18 miles to get to the land that we just planted yesterday, so I probably, I don't want to fill it all the way and have this top heavy. That's the only thing about this. It's very top heavy. Like I said before, this is an older rig. It's about 15 years old, and it just works for me. It works for me. I know exactly how to spray, and we'll talk about this this rig a little bit later. But anyway, so this is how we take the 3-cal and prep it for spraying today. So I already shook it up by hand. We're going to dump about half of it in here, and it's the consistency of a really thick paint. So I'm going to about half of it in there. You are going to get some on your hands if you want to wear rubber gloves. This is all natural. This is not going to hurt you at all, but it washes off real easy with water. So we got an electric drill. This is the paint stir. I believe this one came from TSC. They have the exact same one at Menards. That's what we have here in Michigan. All right, I got the slurry mixed. Now we're going to dump it in the tank. So I got the first half of my slurry dumped in the tank. Now we're going to repeat that process. One of the things I'll do is I'll fill this up with water a couple of times to make sure I get everything out. And you can see how thick that is. That's why we want to make a slurry. This is going to stay suspended for quite some time, but what I'll do is I'll run my agitator for 5 minutes between now and the time we'll spray. Even on the drive up there, it's about a 20-minute drive up there. I might turn the pump on just to agitate it and keep that lime suspended so we get an even distribution of it. So we're going to finish up here, and then we're going to head up north and start spraying. So keep in mind, as you're filling this with the surfactant, it causes bubbling. Okay, kind of like if you had maybe crop oil to Roundup. I can see it starting to bubble right now. The water level's here, the bubble level's here. It's going to start coming out the top, but I still want to make sure I get my water level to 40 gallons. Hello, Belle. So we're just about done filling the water tank. I'm going to turn the agitator on for a little while just to make sure we get that circulation going. So it's sucking up on the bottom down here, running it right back through here, and it's going to keep that circulation going so we get a nice even distribution of the lime when we start to spray. Okay, so you look at the solution. We're ready to go up north now and spray. It's brown. The reason it's brown, a couple of things we added. Our Starter Plus fertilizer, this is a brand new plot we just planted yesterday. We're going to spray. We got some rain coming in, hopefully. That's what they're calling for this afternoon. But the other thing we added was a nutrient boost that helps make the nutrients available to the plants more readily. We're going to try some side-by-side trials with it and see if it makes sense. So we're going to head up north now. You can see we've been running the agitator, and we got a little bit of foam coming out of the top, dripping out the back, which is okay. So we're going to head up north now and get the solution down before the rains get here. done spraying. Let me back the camera a little bit here. We just got this planted yesterday. It rained yesterday. I got a little bit of seed sitting on top of the ground, but this ground is really, really good. It's moist down here. It's going to hold moisture. We get some hot days. It looks like 10 days of heat up here, so this is going to be green. I want to walk over here and show you. So this is the brassica half of the side. It's just starting. I got a couple of thick spots here. It's just starting to green up really nice. I like the population. We did come in here with a little bit of short season brassica. Like I'd have a bare spot here, right around over here, and drop that, and then we got rain on it. But this is brassica that's 3 weeks old. It looks really nice, and I've not added any granular. So what this was a soil builder and Roundup Ready beans we just put in here just to try to get rid of. There's a lot of grass out here. This is the second year on this food plot, and there's a lot of grass here last year. I just wanted to come in and spray the grass. We didn't till this at all since spring. We came in here 3 weeks ago, sprayed, and then a few days later we came in with the grain drill and drilled, I think it was some sun hemp, because we had it, I think there's one right here. Let's see, right there, that's sun hemp. And we have buckwheat in here as well. And I think they're actually eating the buckwheat as fast as it comes up. There's a little bit of soybeans left. But the reason I did the buckwheat and the sun hemp, just because we'd broke a couple of bags and spilled it and, you know, just swept it up. There's also winter peas. Yeah, you can see the peas growing right now right here. Here's one of the peas right here. I can see another one there. There's winter peas in here. There's a couple that didn't get buried. They're just starting to germ because we finally got a rain here. We got rain the day we planted and haven't had rain since. And these brassicas were kind of struggling for the first 2 weeks, but we've gotten rain in the last 5 days and they've really taken off. But again, this is brassica without any synthetic fertilizer at all. This is all our liquid lime, calcium, starter fertilizer, and a little bit of AP. And now I'm not going to ride over these with the four-wheeler. This is about a half-acre brassica plot. And I'm just going to come in here with the backpack sprayer and hit them with nitrogen. So right here we've got our fall forage planted on this side. You can see the soil again is really dark and moist. It's actually starting to sprinkle right now. We got all our liquids put down. We've got a clover blend patch over here. Come on, finger, get out of the way there. Right there, it's really grassy. I just haven't gotten into the mow it, but it's really thick and lush. We did a side-by-side spraying with that nutrient boost and without the nutrient boost, so we're going to see how that works in the coming weeks and months. But pretty excited. Yeah, you look at the sky, it's really dark. That's looking west. It's starting to spit rain, so this is perfect. It'll get that fertilizer into the ground. And I would imagine 2 weeks from now when we come back, 2 weeks from now, this will be green. But we want to be here in 2 weeks to discuss this project right here. I'll just give a little hint on what we're going to talk about. Brandon with First Choice Food Plots was here yesterday, Food Plots and Forestry, and we're going to talk about what we're doing back here, why we're doing it, and that's another, I believe, acre of food plot we just added on this property. We'll bring that to you in a video in a week or two, but we're excited to talk about that. Can't wait to get that planted and see how good it looks here. But yeah, we'll bring you up to speed on that project. But a lot of cool things happening on this ground. There's some really nice deer up here for this part of upper Michigan, and already starting to get a picture here and there of some wanderers that hopefully are going to call this place home in October. So, oh, that grass looks like crap, but I got to get in there and mow it and hit it with clethodim. But it's right behind it's a really thick, lush clover blend patch. So now, one of the things we want to talk about, and I think we'll do a video, the rest of the video when we get home, is we've got a little bit of liquid left, okay, and the agitator can't get to it. So I'm going to talk about cleaning, what we do to make sure this thing's ready to go when we want to spray again next week. Okay, so we're done spraying. We're back at home, and a couple things I wanted to go over. One is cleaning, and two, there's a little bit left in the tank, and I'll tell you what we do with that. But you can see there's a white residue all over the back of the bike. And again, this was just lime, our starter fertilizer, and a little bit of that organic nutrient boost. It's nothing that's going to be corrosive. Had this been some of the nitrogen that does have a little bit of urea in it, you're going to want to wash that off right away as soon as you get home. So what I'll do is I'll wash the bike off, and I unscrew this hose, and then I run the garden hose through it and blow out the nozzles really clean. You really want to make sure you get those nozzles clean right away. And some people say, how long can you let it sit? You know, I've got a long drive back from camp. I'm really not quite sure, maybe a couple hours. If I had a long drive without any water, I'd at least pull the nozzles out and get them in a, you know, take a bottle of water and just soak them so the lime can't harden up in there. But I would make sure you get the pump cleaned out. What I'll do is I'll drain the tank of any liquid that's left. But what I'll do, and this is kind of a tip, there's a little bit of liquid left in the tank. I'm actually going to put it on a slope over here later. It's just parked here for filming purposes. But I'll drain it out into a bucket, and you can use that in, you know, I look around our yard here in our house, and my wife's got a bunch of flower pots. All the liquid that's left over, there's about a half a gallon left in the tank, I'll use in her flower pots. So guys, if you got to kind of help convince the missus that you want to buy this liquid, just say there's a benefit for her too. But we're going to take the leftover, we've got a small box garden in the backyard, I put it on our tomato plants. And the 3 tomato plants that get this versus the 3 that don't, it's a night and day difference. So we'll take the extra liquid, we'll use it on my wife's flowers around the yard, but we'll wash the tank out really well. We run the hose through this hose. This is the same fitting as the garden hose. We'll run that, blow the lines out. We'll get clean water in the tank, and we'll run the pump on the agitator for about a minute just to clean everything out of there to make sure there's no lime residue in there at all. You want to make sure it's cleaned really well. So we're going to clean this, we're going to drain the tank. Any leftovers are going to go in my wife's flower garden and our little garden, and that's how we take care of this. I don't really think you need to scrub the tank because we're not, you know, this isn't like it's Roundup or anything like that. We're going to use it again probably in 3 days to go on that new food plot. So we're just cleaning it out so we don't get any residue or scale buildup in the tank or the sprayers. Okay, I've got the hose, the garden hose hooked up to the boom hose, and we're just going to blow these lines out to make sure there's nothing that could get dry and scaly in here that would block up the fittings or these nozzles on the next time we want to use the pump in the spray rig. So, and this is safe. This is just a little bit of lime and fertilizer. It's okay to go in the grass. Had this been Roundup, probably we'd do it out in the driveway. But, you know, because it was lime, there's a chance of clogging or anything like that if this dries. We want to run this for at least 30 seconds to blow these all out. Get them nice and clean, make sure they're ready to go for the next time. And I talked before about how I've got an overlap. You can see this part goes way out here. I probably got a 10 foot out that way, and it goes 10 feet out that way, but there's a little bit of overlap here. So probably over the winter, I'm going to make this boom a little bit bigger and move these nozzles out. We're going to redo this whole thing, but again, it looks kind of crude, but it's very effective. That should be long enough. All right, we're going to try to capture the last little half gallon that's in here just because it makes such good fertilizer for around the house. We're not going to get it all, but we try to get as much as we can. On my last tank, I actually had a fitting screwed onto here that stuck out, but I caught it on a tree one time and broke the tank. So I think there might be a hose or something with maybe a valve out here. It's going to make great fertilizer for, you know, around the house. We're not catching it all, but we're getting most of it. But it's going to be good fertilizer around the house, in the garden. If you got some plants, it makes great fertilizer for that. Hopefully that helped, folks. I think that was a pretty in-depth tutorial on how we spray and recommend spraying and using liquid lime. And again, one of the big things is you really want to get that spray rig cleaned quickly because you don't want any kind of a film or coating or a hardening of that product. So make sure that spray rig is, whatever you use, it's cleaned immediately. So, you know, one of the things I want folks to understand is this. There's a lot of, you know, like I said, there's seed companies popping up every day. Now these seed companies and egg companies are starting to sell a lot of these liquid products. I do believe there's something to that. Like I said before, we've got brassicas planted in a bunch of plots. The best looking one is by far the one that we went strictly AP starter fertilizer and the lime, the calcium. From Full Spectrum Products, we did not use any synthetic input, and right now that looks the best. That being said, pay attention to what you're buying. Okay, there's a lot of options out there for these liquid products. Okay, and I was very fortunate to be a part of this full spectrum product that Brad Harper helped develop. And I've worked with Brad for a long time. Trust the guy; he knows a lot. We had a lot of good conversations about this, and I'm really excited to be working with Brad. We're going to do a lot of testing with these full spectrum products. But so far, what I've seen, like I said, we've got a bunch of brassicas growing, and the best looking one by far is the one that's been just strictly full spectrum products. So again, though, there's a lot of people out there trying to sell you a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff out there that I wouldn't put in my food plot if it was for given to me free. So just be careful what you're buying. Do your research, okay? And I really like these full spectrum products. If you choose to go the liquid route, check out northwoodswhitetails.com. Look at our full spectrum products. We're just a click away. We've got that icon where you can text us. If there's questions I can't answer, we forward them to Brad. If you've got questions, again, Brad tries to get a hold. Brad and I try to get together now once a month to do a YouTube video podcast, and we can use questions here. So if you've got questions, whether it's for me, whether it's for Brad, Brad will jump on here if he needs to. By all means, ask him in the comments below. Hopefully you've learned something, and this will help you when you're spraying your limes and your fertilizers this fall. Thanks for watching, folks, and we will see you in a few days.